Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. It's Hoopsville time here on December 18th, 2023. It is a Monday. Welcome in. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, to the show. If you want to talk Division III basketball, you found the right place. It's Division III basketball chat time. Coming to you from the Hoopsville studios, presented by D3Hoops.com. Thanks to all of you who are tuned in, whether live or on demand, however the case may be. We certainly appreciate it. It is something we do and enjoy, and we certainly love, and we hope you will get a better taste of that love as we progress, because, you know, that's what we do. Lots to talk about tonight. Just a couple of quick scheduling updates for you. A reminder, barring something significant, we will not be on the air on Thursday this week. We were certainly debating hard about doing it. We got room. There's some good games coming up, which obviously we will be talking about. Great games coming up this week, but there's also family and some other things going on. Got to prepare for the D3Hoops.com Classic. This thing right here on the chest, if you're looking at us. So we're not going to do a show on Thursday again, unless something significant changes that, some newsworthy event that needs our attention. No show on Thursday. So this is our last show until after the holidays. We will be back on the air. I believe it's January 3rd. If memory serves. No, sorry, January 4th will be our next show on the air. A little bit of a gap there. We do realize it's 2.5 weeks. Not ideal, but that's how it's going to be. Of course, there'll be plenty of Hoopsville-esque content in Las Vegas where we talk to coaches and or student athletes of all the teams participating. So that will be available. That is coming up the 27th through the 30th. 3 days of games. Plenty to talk about, to say the least. A lot of good games. We'll talk more about that coming up as well. So that's the first bit of news on scheduling. The second bit of news on scheduling is we've gotten some new commitments for work unrelated to all this. I'm proud to say I've been called in to do a bunch of other things. So there are going to be a handful of Thursday and even a Monday show next January and February that will be moved to an afternoon show. We will do a 1 p.m. show instead of our normal 7 o'clock live show. That will allow us to then get to the work event that we need to do in the evening. It has then put Hoopsville's marathon show in a little bit of flux. We're going to have to be a little bit adaptable to figure out how we're going to pull that one off and when we're going to do it. It will. I can pretty much say at this point, it will end up being on a non-traditional day. And how that all works out is to be determined, but we'll figure that out. But the marathon show will have to adjust this year. Excuse me. A little bit of dinner is just not wanting to go away. Also, we should point out, not get the cart too far ahead of the horse, but you might remember the top 16 shows last season. Those are back. We are looking forward to producing those, barring any change in those plans. Looking forward to producing those once again. Those are scheduled for the 15th of February. So keep that in mind as well for your scheduling purposes. So that's the nuts and bolts of it for now. Lots to talk about in Division III. If you want to talk with us, you can email us, Hoopsville at D3Sports.com. That's Hoopsville at D3Sports.com. You can also find us on social media, X/Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And YouTube, we're all at D3 Hoopsville there. On Facebook, we're just Hoopsville. We're live simulcasting on Hoopsville, or on Facebook, I should say. We're also live simulcasting on YouTube, youtube.com/D3Hoopsville and facebook.com/Hoopsville. That's how you can get a hold of us and interact with us during the show. We'll do our best to interact back with you. Let's talk guests on this one because there's plenty to talk about. We got some good ones. If you're looking over our shoulder, you can see the list in order. We'll be talking to the Dubuque men's basketball team coming on up. They are not in Iowa this week. We will talk to them about the hoops they are playing this holiday season and where exactly they are enjoying those games. We'll also be talking to 23rd ranked Illinois College. We'll talk to the men's program about their start to the season and just how good they've been the last couple of years. And I have a feeling that loss in the first round of the NCAA tournament last year to Wheaton still stings a bit. We'll talk to them. Coach Schweer joining us to talk about it. Then we'll pivot to women's basketball. Fred Richter from DeSales will join us. They've got a huge game against Scranton coming up on Tuesday the 19th. That is tomorrow if you're listening to us live. We'll talk to Fred about that upcoming game and just how good this Bulldogs team is. Could they maybe be one of the best teams that they've had at DeSales in women's basketball history? And then we'll talk Hope women's basketball. Brian Morehouse joins us. We talked to him earlier today. It is a pre-recorded interview. I will absolutely tell you, we've always had great conversations with Brian. This is up there with one of my favorites. Great insight on the team, but also spoke very eloquently and what's the word I was just looking for? Eloquently and open about his career, because he is closing in on a heck of a milestone, and we'll talk about that coming up as well. He could be the best that's ever done it at any level. We'll talk about that with him. So those are the guests we have scheduled ahead. It's hoops, or holiday hoops is the topic, because there is plenty of good basketball being played in the next few days. Just to take a look at tonight, there is actually a rather large schedule tonight, surprisingly. One of the guests we were going to reach out to and have on the show today was Calvin men's basketball, but they're on the road at Stevens Point, so that wasn't possible. Whitewater is on the road at Marion, and number 19 Tribe played Anderson and Anderson lost by 3. Trine won by 3. Ryan Scott tweeted out something earlier. I apologize. I forgot what he mentioned earlier about that significance in his mind. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Forgive me. Let's see. It shouldn't be too far. I'm sure I can find it. I may have gone to the wrong account. There it is. He goes, Trine gets a huge win over Anderson, maybe an expected win at full strength, but I wasn't sure they'd be able to manage it without Magnanglo. Apparently my tongue doesn't want to work today. Down low. Boy, was it close. Anderson really dominated the boards, but it wasn't quite enough. So Trine with that win over Anderson earlier, 79-76. It's sad to say the state of St. Mary's men's basketball program I certainly have known well. They lost by 17 to Messiah today, and I know Messiah is not the greatest team this season as well. So that's certainly disappointing. Milliken got a win over St. John Fisher in men's basketball, 78-69. Transylvania got beat by Bluffton, 80-52. Ferrum continues to play well. Got a win over Greensboro, 65-59. Ferrum is part of several teams making the ODAC look really interesting this season. So we'll keep an eye on some other games that are taking place today throughout Division III men's basketball. Redlands is taking on Kalamazoo, for example. Kowloon is playing Illinois Wesleyan. Those games should be done, so we'll try and check on some of those scores when we get the opportunity and see if the scoreboard has gotten updated at some point as well. Ripon is playing Oshkosh. That's all men's. That is men's basketball. Yep, men's basketball. Women's basketball, Transylvania defeated Bluffton easily, 75-29. Whitewater defeated Manhattanville rather easily, 70-35. Hardin-Simmons squeaked past Texas Dallas by 2, 63-61. Catholic rolled over Eastern 79-60. And there's other games that have finished. I'm quickly looking to see. The Ohio Wesleyan over St. Lawrence, 98-48. East Texas Baptist over Birmingham Southern, 74-52. Sul Ross over Concordia, Texas, 74-69. And there's some other scores around. Whitworth over Claremont Mudd Scripps, 59-48. This is women's scores again. So we'll keep an eye on those the rest of the day. But my point being, what's coming up ahead. We'll just talk about the 19th alone on the women's side. Christopher Newport's in action against Grove City. Whitewater is playing Messiah, DeSales, and Scranton. We talked about that. They are taking on one another. Whitman and Wartburg will play one another. Willamette, who remember beat Whitman earlier this season, takes on Trinity, Texas. Milliken's got a game as well. Don't know their opponent right off the top of my head. Hardin-Simmons is taking on George Fox. Hope is taking on Augustana. Trine is taking on Geneva. Catholic has got Marymount. Elizabethtown has got Loris. That's just in the top 25 on the women's side tomorrow. That's just the 19th. Yes, I know this makes you want to say, let's do a show on Thursday. I'm fully realizing that the challenge of my decision. Hamden Sydney John Carroll is a big game tomorrow in men's basketball. That game is at John Carroll at 3 o'clock, by the way, if you want a good time to watch it. Christopher Newport's taking on Kane. Mount Union is taking on Berea. Not as many top 25 teams in action, but still a whole host of other really good basketball games across. St. John's taking on Nazareth. Now, granted, not the same Nazareth team we've gotten used to over the last few years, but still, good game there. So a lot of great basketball this week. Certainly encourage you, if you have a chance to go out and see the games, watch them online if you can. It'll be fun to watch, and we'll keep a tab on all of it. At d3hoops.com, we'll keep you up to date there. We'll do our best. Of course, scoreboards are there. Admittedly, they don't have as many links as they used to, and I will say this to all the sports information directors who may be listening who are friends of ours. If you don't mind logging in and updating video and live stat links when you can, that'd be greatly appreciated. It is a difficult task for us to do all of them, though we certainly do our best to try and get to them. But we certainly would appreciate it if you were able to do so yourself. So there you go. It's going to be a fun week of games. And, of course, it culminates the week before or after Christmas, but before New Year's with the D3Hoops.com Classic. We talked a little bit already over the last few weeks about it due to the fact that we've got, some guests who will be appearing in that tournament. But let's just go through some of these games. We'll start on the 27th, just a single game. Women, it'll be Westminster taking on Framingham State in women's basketball. That's Westminster, Missouri. Westminster, Pennsylvania, those I emailed by accident. I apologize. Things got a little hairy around here when I was sending those emails out, and I accidentally sent it to the wrong Westminster. Anyway, Rhodes taking on Laverne in women's basketball. Ohio Northern taking on Trinity, Texas. That is our start to our Thursday schedule of 6 games, we should point out. Then Husson and Laverne on the men's side, Rhodes and Whittier on the men's side, Clark and Trinity, Texas on the men's side, finishing on Thursday the 28th with Oswego taking on Case Western Reserve. Then on the 29th, Friday, we'll start off with Occidental and Westminster, Framingham State and Trinity, Texas, Laverne and Ohio Northern on the women's side. The men, it'll be Trinity, Texas and Pomona Pitzer. Case Western Reserve and Clark, Whittier and Husson. Then on Saturday the 30th, just three games. It'll be Occidental against Rhodes on the women's side, then the men's side, Rhodes and Laverne, and we finish it off with Oswego and Pomona Pitzer. Should be an absolutely awesome weekend of basketball. You can go to d3hoops.com for all of it. Myself, Pat Coleman, Gordon Mann, at least us as a trio will be calling the games, doing the interviews, etc., doing the production and all that. Look forward to have everybody joining us for those games. Also writing some stories. We'll have the gang from D3 Photography, D3 Photo out there to take pics and all of that jazz. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting some coaches we don't normally get to meet or at least chat with, etc., etc. Should be an absolutely fun week of basketball at the 13th annual D3Hoops.com Classic at South Point Arena in Las Vegas. I kid you not. If you've got nothing to do and you want to throw some travel plans together, you should join us out there for some great basketball at South Point Arena at the South Point Hotel, which is south of the Strip. So looking forward to that, and we're already starting to put together next year's. If you're interested in coming out to the D3Hoops.com Classic, contact myself, contact Pat, or our friends at Sport Tours International, who helps put it all together. We would be happy to have you out there. The tournament's kind of pivoting a little bit more to being a little bit more on the competitive and ultra high end. But if you think you can fit the bill and go out there and want to challenge yourself against some good teams, that's the way to do it. I have noticed there's tournaments now in Hawaii. There's tournaments, of course, in Florida and Puerto Rico. Now a couple of tournaments in Nashville. I think if I saw the scheduling right, there's games this week in Nashville. Then we talked about the Whittier-Wartburg game. I'm sorry, the Whitman-Wartburg game coming up. That's in Nashville. And I think there's also tournaments now in Nashville in the week between Christmas and New Year's. So a lot of places are starting to host games, which is good, albeit I'd love to see more and more in Vegas if we could. But great to see teams wanting to travel a bit. So there's kind of the synopsis of what we're covering tonight. Lots of good basketball, and we're going to talk to 4 teams who are playing this week, essentially. Dubuque is already at the site they are at. They're in a very nice and warm location. We'll talk to Dubuque here coming up in just a few minutes. Illinois College is playing this week. We'll talk to them. DeSales women, again, big game against Scranton coming up on Tuesday night. We'll talk to Fred Richter about that. And Hope women's basketball. They've got some big games too. A mock or a bit of a CCIW MIAA battle coming up in what they're calling the post-exam jam in Holland, Michigan. It is Alma and Hope with Augustana and Milliken on the women's side. Should be some good hoops there, and we'll talk to Brian about all of that coming up as well. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. From the Hoopsville studios, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk Dubuque basketball. Just how good is Dubuque playing right now, and where are they enjoying their pre-holidays right now? Admittedly, I'm a little jealous, but I'm looking forward to talking to their head coach coming up. You're listening to Hoopsville. Back with more after this. The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC 1927. That's NABC.com or NABC 1927 on social media.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us. All of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. That time goes by fast when you're having fun. If you got any questions for us, you can always contact us via email, social media, Facebook, YouTube. We're on Discord, believe it or not. And we're on some other social media channels that we haven't fully gotten updated. I'm hoping I can figure out Discord a bit because I watch a lot of programs online now that use Discord quite a bit to interact with people, and I'm sure many of you are. If you are an expert per se in Discord, let me know, and I'm going to figure out how we can get that involved in the show, especially as we get into the later time of January and into February. I think that'll be really helpful. But anyway, if you're watching us live, all the information at the bottom of your screen. If you're not, and you're listening on a podcast, which we are trying to get turned around, Hoopsville at d3sports.com is our email. At D3 Hoopsville on almost all the social media channels except Facebook. Facebook, it's just Hoopsville. Simulcasting on Facebook and YouTube as well. Dubuque men's basketball, the Spartans are having another tremendous start to the season. They're 7-0 on the campaign, a campaign that finished last year 19-7 and 21-7, at really battling for supremacy in the American Rivers Conference, which prior to that, they really weren't part of that conversation. It's certainly a great turnaround, and they're playing some holiday hoops this season as well. Where they're playing it took some scheduling work, and I'm a little bit jealous, but Coach Robbie has been kind enough to not reveal the location, at least to tease us in the backdrop. Coach Sieverding joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline. You closed the blinds, which I appreciate, because otherwise we're all going to see the beauty of Hawaii behind you, Coach.
Yes, I did close the blinds. I thought it might be a little bit too bright back there, but it's 80, but there's a few sprinkles today. Yesterday was no sprinkles, a little bit nicer, but we won't complain about 80. So our guys are having fun, excited, and we're getting ready to go over to Diamond Head to do a little hiking, a little activity, and then get ready for a couple big games.
I was going to say, I looked at the schedule and, okay, so they're not playing until the 21st or 22nd, so maybe I can sneak in an interview on Monday, but they might be traveling. This could be interesting. You're already there. You're taking advantage of this trip. This is a great opportunity to see a place that I'm sure a lot of your guys, and maybe yourself, I know myself, have never been able to see.
Yeah, we did it. We took our team here about 12 years ago, and it was an awesome experience, and that was the only time I've been here, and we always wanted to get back, just didn't know when we'd be able to afford it and get the fundraising done. But one of the things we're really important to us and our staff is trying to give our guys the best 4-year experience. And we think a lot of that is where we travel and the teams that we're playing. So, we've been to Vegas last year for the D3 Hoops Classic, and we were in Fort Lauderdale the year before. And we're really trying to push the envelope as far as where we're traveling. And this is obviously going to be a big time experience. We're going to take our guys to Pearl Harbor, and we paid for an extra night here. We're coming all this way, so we did an extra night. So we'll be here for I think it's 6 nights. So yeah, it'll be a nice trip for our guys.
Okay. Listen, next time call. I'd be more than happy to come out, broadcast the games. I mean, small fee, but I'll take the room and board as well.
I had trainers. I had a lot of people claiming tickets. The flights were kind of expensive, but I could have added about 15, 20 people real easy, I think. So
I'm assuming Megan Wilson's with you too, right?
She's not, but I was on the phone with her, but she is not. It is there's about 21 of us, and then we have a handful of parents that tag along too. So we're excited to see them, and should be an awesome week.
Yeah, great experience. I mean, listen, we loved having you in Vegas, and you're always welcome back, but we can certainly understand needing to take a trip to Hawaii. I mean, Diamond Head hikes and all that you talked about, the chance to go see some of the great sights of Hawaii is certainly a great experience. But you're going to, as we said, mix in some basketball. We'll talk more about the overall season and such in a bit, but you're going to take on Whitworth and Lewis and Clark, two teams that maybe aren't at the powers that they had been in recent years, but still a good test out of the Northwest Conference. Gives you a good test at this point in the season before you do pivot into the conference action. This is kind of while it is pleasure, there is work, and it's going to be a good working test for you all.
Yeah, both teams present different challenges, and Whitworth's obviously coming off a national tournament year last year, and is very good. And I think both will provide some different types of challenges. Whitworth, watching them on film, is very physical. They remind me of, I think you just end up playing UW Oshkosh, but just physical at a lot of spots. Remind me of kind of like a WIAC team, which we're kind of used to. But it's always fun to kind of branch out and play some different teams from different regions and play quality opponents. And I certainly think we'll have, two good challenges for us here. The hard thing is, and the weird thing for us is, we had our bye week on that second Saturday in December, and it was just really hard trying to find games. So we've been off since we last played Simpson early December. So it has been a long layoff. So we'll try to get sharp here as quick as we can and got to be ready to go here for Thursday and Friday.
I mean, that's the key, obviously, and that's the tough part this time of year. You know, you see all kinds of different ideas. There's some who play in early December, then shut it down, don't play again until early January. Of course, Yeshiva's known for their long break that is a little different than everybody else's, but just to give some comparison, it's more of a middle to late December to middle late January. There's others who try and mix in as much as possible, take very small breaks, maybe 6-7 days at the very most. And then there's others that kind of a hybrid. And there's others who don't fit any model. There's one way of doing it one way year, and there's another doing it another year. Have you figured out what works best, or is you follow in that last category of it just every year is different?
Yeah, I mean, generally we try to, have that 6 to 7 day maybe break. But with scheduling, it is one of the more difficult things to do. Luckily, we're in the Midwest there, where there's a lot of teams that you can schedule, but it is hard. It is a jigsaw puzzle at times, trying to find what fits your program best. And it just got to a hard spot there where we ended up just having that bigger break, and then we're going to go up and play in the St. Norbert tournament, which should be a great tournament for us. The 29th and 30th, we haven't been up there in the past few years, so we're looking forward to that too. Before we kick off. We have 3 conference games in, but before we get into the meat grinder of the ARC this year, and a very, very good conference, and our league is doing very good in non-league. And I think it's going to be one of the stronger years that we've had since, before COVID, when Nebraska Wesleyan kind of had it rolling. I think this is the strongest our league has been, especially in the top 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah, that was kind of the interesting thing that jumped out at me. Yeah, I think we got a little spoiled, a little bit lazy in the fact that we had Nebraska Wesleyan. And that's who we kind of keyed on in the American Rivers, or the old IAAC conference. Central's certainly been in the conversation. Loras has popped their head, and Wartburg as well. But you and Co kind of been stealing the headlines in the last couple of seasons. And when I went back to look at things, especially post-pandemic, Dubuque's been at the top of this conference every season. You guys are in this mix. So that's 2.5 seasons now worth of that. I'm curious, what has changed, at least for you all, or the conference, or some combination of both, that has allowed you all to get to the top, stay at the top for the most part, and now this conference look very different than it did a few years ago?
Yeah, we were fortunate, that COVID year, we had probably our best team that we've had, and we were 14-0. We shot it. I mean, I would take an individual shoot at this, but we shot at just under 45% over 14 games from the 3-point line as a team, which is kind of unheard of. And we were rolling, and it was kind of a funny year just because at the end of the 14 games, we had won everything we could, and it was kind of it. We went 14-0, and I had probably our best, most talented offensive team for sure that we've had, and it was kind of over. But we had a really good player, Peter Reagan, from Joliet Catholic. He was really good. He's an All-American for us. And then he came back for his 5th year, and we kind of kept it rolling. And when we won another conference tournament championship and then a regular season, and we were up 95% of the game against Case Western up at UW Oshkosh in the first round, and ended up giving up a couple offensive rebounds. Just didn't finish the game in those games, which is pretty crazy in our league. So we know we got some big games coming up here because I think our league is really, really good, and I think it's going to be very tough. But I think it's going to be winning close games, and Cole's done a good job. They won a last-second shot at Central, and then they beat Loras on a last-second defensive play. So a lot of times winning those close games, staying healthy, having good chemistry will determine a lot of what's going to happen down the stretch for the ARC.
You've got a roster 25 deep. 5 of those are graduate students or seniors. Shockingly, only 2 juniors. You've got a plethora of sophomores on this team, and then a whole host of freshmen as well. So you've got a balance of pretty decent amount of senior leadership and experience in those 5 graduate/seniors. And then it's a little bit youth in terms of how many sophomores, but granted at this point, they've got the experience as well. How are you balancing that? Because of those 25, you're playing 20 of them already, and not just kind of throw it in there 20. There's only 3 guys that have played 1 game. So you're playing a good majority of your team consistently. So how are you balancing the senior, the youth, and the massive numbers that you've got on that roster?
Yeah, we have 4 guys that played in that national tournament game a few years ago. 2 of them being fifth-year seniors, and that was very valuable for those guys. So we have 4 guys that were on the floor quite a bit, but that was kind of it from a few years ago. And then we have 2 freshmen that have been really good for us that are in our mix. And then also a Division II transfer, Sunday John, who's been really good for us. But we graduated 5 of our top 9. So we lost quite a bit of kind of our mainstays that had been playing since that COVID sophomore year of those guys. We had a handful that chose not to do their 5th year that got right into the workforce, and then we had a few that came back. So it was an interesting group because for the last 3 years, we kind of knew before this year, we knew we were kind of playing, and we had just a really good freshman group that didn't do well, but then really took off that sophomore year when we went 14-0. And then those guys played the last couple of years. So we've had a couple unknowns now this year and trying to work on our depth. And I think that's going to be one thing that we have to continue to work on is just having quality depth and having young guys grow up pretty quick because we have 2 freshmen that are in our top 6 right now that are pretty talented. We're fortunate to have. So yeah, there's a few new guys out there, but we're fortunate that we have 4 guys that have played with our program that have played big time games, been on a national stage. So that's obviously exciting because you look around the country and you win with older guys a lot, and we're fortunate to have a few of those guys on our squad.
It's interesting. You talk about how much you lost from last year, which was a significant point. And then you've got all this experience and you're off to such a good start at 7-0. And you've got guys like Jalen McCants, who's putting up 20.5 points a game. Sam Kilberg at 11 plus, Grady Thompson at 10 plus a game. Thompson doing it off the bench, we should point out. And you've got 4 or 5 more guys with 6 plus points per game, meaning they're going to have their moments. Certainly they're going to contribute. So were you expecting to be off to this start and doing as well as it appears on paper right now, considering what you lost?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we'd be competitive, and I think we have room to grow yet. I don't think we've played the hardest schedule yet, but we went on the road and we've taken care of business and done some good things. Jalen has been really good. Jalen McCants has been really good, and Sam Kilberg's been very solid for us. So it's I wouldn't say it's surprising, but we've been really good. I thought we had a chance to be really good defensively, and I think we're better defensively. We have a chance to be much better defensively than we were last year, but offensively at times we're not as scary as what we were last year with some of the shooters we had on the floor. But we're holding teams to just under 37%. Teams are scoring 58 points a game against us, and we've been good enough offensively to hang in there a little bit, and hopefully that'll keep getting better and better. But I think defensively we have a chance to be pretty good, so hopefully we can continue that trend and see where this team goes. We know that we're going to have some big-time struggles, or not big-time struggles, but some big-time games and opponents, especially in the league. It's going to be a dogfight. It's like every league that's strong, even when you go on the road with teams that maybe haven't won a ton. It is still tough to win on the road, and we got some teams up top that I think are going to be very good.
Well, and by the way, Thompson was that freshman you mentioned earlier that, are already making those contributions, and then junior leading the way, senior second. And the Band-Aid's going to get ripped right off because, yes, you've got this event with Whitworth and Lewis and Clark, take a break for Christmas for a week, get back at it at St. Norbert with Superior and then whomever's on the other side. But you've got Wartburg coming out of that to start conference play again, Buena Vista, and then and Co's going to be on the road. There's little time to reacclimate yourselves, as it were, before the true truth of this season is going to be right in your face.
Yeah, because we've had kind of a long break here now, we'll have a bunch of games here in a short amount of time. And then obviously our conference slate is Wednesday, Saturday. And like I said, it's a dogfight. A lot of good coaches. Some very good teams. I think there wasn't one first-team all-league player that graduated. Every single first-team player from last year is back on a roster. So it is filled with older guys on the teams. And I think if you go further into that, the teams that were picked in the top 4 or 5 probably returned 90 to 95% of their roster. So a lot of the teams that lost some players were the ones that didn't finish in the top half last year. So it's led to a very strong top half of our league. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Like I said, staying healthy and how much we can grow over the course of the next month. And I think this trip will be awesome for building some chemistry, things like that. And got to win some close games, stay healthy, all that. But it'll be interesting to see. And I think hopefully our league can make some noise and whoever represents us can do some good things.
This conference, as we were talking about, is off to a tremendous start. Co is 11-1. You guys 7-0. Central 8-2. Loras 6-1. Nebraska Wesleyan 6-2. Buena Vista 7-4. Okay, Wartburg's 2-8, but I have a feeling that's a little bit of a misnomer. Simpson and Luther are 4-5 and 4-6 respectively. That's a lot of teams who have built confidence and coming off and taken off on a good point. Co's 4-0 in the conference. You're 3-0 in the conference. Central's 3-1, etc. You know this is going to be tough. So how do you pace the guys through it so that at the end of the season, you're just as primed and ready as you are at the start of January?
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge we fight as coaches a lot of years is trying to figure out, how hard to push it at times and how do you keep your guys fresh, both mentally and physically, while still, we just finished finals and then we flew out here. It's, kids have a lot on their plate at times. So trying to figure out how we can stay fresh, how we can stay healthy. We talked about before we went on air is just sickness kind of running through our locker room a few weeks ago too. So there's all those things that we're trying to battle while still trying to push our guys and, let's try to stay as positive and upbeat as we can because we know it's going to be a little bit of a grind here come January. There's a lot of games and you got to stay fresh. So I'm excited because I think we have some new faces that have a chance to keep getting better because they've only played in 7-8 college games, and we have a couple of those guys that are in our rotation. And I think we have room to grow. And I think there's a lot of teams that are probably in the same boat that think they're trying to get to their best here before the season's over with. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully we can continue to get better offensively and keep doing some of the good things that we've been doing defensively. So this will be a big time challenge out here. We're looking forward to playing a very good Whitworth game and then Lewis and Clark here after.
Is it important, not to dwell on last season too much, but is it important to come out of these two trips with at least some momentum? Last year you played in Vegas at our event. Great game against Franklin and Marshall, which is another team that's improving this year. And then you took it to Ramapo. I remember all of us came out of that just kind of blown away at that result. But unfortunately, you come home and 5 days later, it's a loss to Co by 21. It's a loss to Loras by 8. And you kind of, as an outsider, look at that going, ooh, geez, did the wheels just come off the train? Then a loss to Wartburg a little bit later in the month. So suddenly you're kind of in this no man's land. Is it important to come out of these two trips? Well, they're great, and they're going to test you, and you need that to still be in a better spot than last season, or at least know that, hey, this happened last year. We got to move on.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to keep growing. Like I said, we have some young kids in different spots. We want to keep getting better as we progress here. And, we ended up playing some really good basketball late in the year. We won 9 out of our last 10 going into the conference tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Co got and Co won 3 road games in our league and got playing really good basketball at the right time. I want to say, Co and Loras, I think last year they both went on 5-game conference losing streaks. And then those are the two teams that are playing in the championship with Co nudging Loras there. So it was a very, I think last year we had 6 really good teams, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least 5 or 6 really, really good teams here once we start getting into February here. And we're hoping to play our best basketball down the stretch. But, I think the Vegas trip was good for us last year. I don't think we started playing really good after that, but at times we just didn't rebound and defend the way that we needed to at a championship level, and that started getting better the last 2 weeks of the year, 3 weeks of the year, and that's when we won 9 out of 10 games going into their conference tournament.
Yeah, Loras last year lost 7 of 11 at one point with a 4-game slide at the end of that before winning 3 straight to get into that conference title game and lost to Co. Co did have a 5-game losing streak and lost actually 6 of 7 at one point before walking into the NCAA tournament and losing to WashU in the first round. So, yeah, certainly an interesting conference race. And that's what's been making interest about the American Rivers. Again, back to your point earlier, everyone got fixated on Nebraska Wesleyan. They were so dominating there for a few years, national title, all of that. It's fascinating now. You can literally have a 5-game losing streak in this conference and still be in a position where you can make a run at a conference title. It is definitely a deeper conference than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I think when Nebraska joined and made some of that noise, I think it made our conference obviously a little bit stronger. And I think some teams have maybe scheduled a little bit harder. And we got a lot of, with the WIAC and CCIW being right around us, there's quality opponents that you can play and get tested. And we try to challenge ourselves with a few tournaments, things like that too. Next year we had over to Wheaton to play in their tournament. So yeah, I think our league has gotten stronger and stronger. And my goodness, what Nebraska and Dale did there a few years ago. We knew they were really good, and I think they went into the tournament not even ranked in the top 25. But we're all like, man, they're probably going to beat a few teams, and they are hard to guard. And they played that zone, which was different. So it was fun seeing them, make a run like that. And I think, it's up the ante for our league a little bit. I think our league is finally maybe getting some notoriety, a little bit more attention, and I think we still have room to get better and better. And we got to have teams continue to do well in the tournament to make that happen. But I certainly think our league has gotten stronger, and I think this is the best it's been. Even the couple years that we won the league here, I think this is probably the strongest that it's been, just because there's so many returners that are on those top teams.
Random question: you bring up scheduling because you guys have always had a pretty decent schedule for the most part. I don't think you've ever had those schedules with people look at and kind of shake their head going, geez, they're not even challenging themselves. I think you usually put together a good schedule. But for the last few years, you're Associate Dean of Student Engagement and Intercollegiate Athletics and Senior Women's Administrator, because I love saying her entire title, has been Megan Wilson, who last year was the chair of the Women's Committee. She's still on the committee as of now. I'm curious, I know it's from the women's perspective, but do you talk with Megan and get a perspective of how do you schedule to give yourself the best chance, whether it be for an at-large or better yet, a chance to better position yourself in a bracket?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. She's doing a great job at our place, and we're happy to have her there. And we haven't talked really in depth about that, but one of the things that changed kind of the landscape is when the WIAC got resurfaced and reshuffled into our region there. Yeah. So it's just changed a little bit of the regionally ranked opponent opportunities and things like that. So we understand it's still going to be tough for us to probably our league to continually get that second bid. It's just it's an interesting, when you look at scheduling, it's such an interesting dynamic of what you're trying to do and where teams might be. And we schedule so far out that you might be playing a team that you think is going to be pretty solid, and things maybe change with, possibly the transfer portal, things like that. So it is definitely interesting. You can definitely do your homework and have some pretty good ideas. But even sometimes when you think you think you got things figured out the way you want them, some teams aren't as strong and things like that. But we haven't talked a lot about that, but we certainly know that with the WIAC in our region there, it makes it very, very tough. And they are, they've done some great things in the tournament, so that's deservedly so.
I know I got to let you go. You got a big climb here up Diamond Head to enjoy. But I am curious, before I let you go, we should point out you've got a D1 background. You played a little bit at a community college prior to transferring to a D1, played at Northern Iowa, got a coaching minor, by the way. Absolutely outstanding idea. Wish I had that around when I would have dove into something like that. But you've been at Division III and at Dubuque primarily since 2007. You seem invested. You don't seem like this. Maybe it was when you started. It was going to be that get prepared and move on to the bigger and brighter things in the future. You're there. You're now settled. It doesn't seem like you're departing from the background of knowing D1 and now being in D3. Why is this seemingly home?
Yeah, well, kind of like what you said, it is kind of home. I grew up in Bellevue, about 20 miles south of Dubuque. I ended up playing for Coach Greg McDermott my last year at UNI, and his brother, Marty McDermott, got the head job at the University of Dubuque right when I got done playing after a year trying to play professionally. And I was able to come on as an assistant coach there, and it's home. My wife is from the Dubuque area. I have some older siblings that are all within the Dubuque 20-mile radius. So it's been home. I think if things were anywhere close to what they looked like when we first got there, I probably would have been long gone, because we took a job that they were 2-23 the year before we got here. In the mid-90s, they had a stretch where they went 1-50. So it was not looking real good in the mid-90s with our university. And we've had some President Bullock and Joe Clappity, a few big-time important guys that have been huge with kind of transforming our institution. And, if things were, I tell people, they've given us the resources to have a chance to be successful in our facilities, our academic programs. Everything has come basically full circle. So it has really, really changed. And kind of found a home there. I love the Division III model, just with guys having kids that want to be there and work hard, and they're there to be student athletes. So it's been an awesome fit. I probably wouldn't have guessed it, 21 years ago, but it's been awesome, and I've enjoyed it. And we feel like we've built something that's been sustainable and successful. And obviously, we don't have all the answers, and we're still trying to grow. But we've done some good things, and hopefully, we can keep trying to make get our team to that national level.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Great to get your perspective on things, and I know we're taking your time from the beautiful island of Hawaii and Honolulu and all of that. So we'll let you go. Enjoy Diamondback. Enjoy Pearl Harbor. Enjoy the games. Definitely report back. I got to live vicariously through somebody. In the meantime, we always give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuned in?
Well, just a few things. Like I said, our assistant coaches, our players, obviously are what makes us go. We've had guys that have come and taken a chance on our university. So I love our guys. I love our former players, our alumni. My wife is back at home with our 2 kids, so that's like my other assistant coach. She's chasing those kids around and trying to check up on them. I'll be watching my daughter on a stream here tomorrow. I think they play, so watching a sophomore high school game. And so my life has been awesome. Our parents, our family's been crazy supportive, and it's been awesome. And we appreciate everything that you do there with D3 Hoops there and promoting it is awesome. It is awesome basketball. I think, people don't understand quite what it is at the really good programs, and we're trying to be one of those, but we certainly appreciate the coverage and what you guys do to promote our sports. And we love our student athletes here at UD, and hopefully we can keep making some noise.
Hey, well, congrats. Seriously, the show isn't what it is. We don't get guests on like yourself, even from Hawaii. I appreciate you carving the time out. It really means a lot to me. Enjoy the trip. Enjoy the games. Enjoy your holidays. And I'll look forward to catching up with you down the road. Enjoy the rest of the season.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Happy holidays.
You too. Take care. That is Robbie Sieverding joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline, again from Hawaii. Absolutely awesome that they're out there having that experience. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll talk Illinois College men's basketball. They're not in Hawaii, but we're certainly going to get a great perspective from them. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops. Back with more after this.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that. A lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Responsibility is being accountable for your words and actions, first and foremost. It also is an obligation to be a positive influence in the communities around you. Being in a D3 program, you're going to have lots of different opportunities. You're not just an athlete, you're also involved in student life. Your academics are extremely important. We give a lot of our student athletes responsibilities right from the start by giving them leadership opportunities, by having them engage in the community, be a positive influence. That's being a responsible person.
There are over 480,000 college athletes. Only 2% would go pro.
That means over 470,000 will not get a shoe contract. No autographs. No private jets. No fan clubs. No Hall of Fame inductions. Instead, they will walk away with something much more valuable.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's NABC.com or NABC1927 on social media. Welcome back to everybody to Hoopsville as we continue to roll along here. If you got questions for us, you can always tweet us or email us or contact us via Facebook. Facebook web stream went down again. Zero idea why it decided to go off the air. So we got it back up and running. There are some advantages to the way we have our system set up. So we are streaming it. Oh, no. We are now streaming again on Facebook. I really wish I understood how that all works. Of course, we're also streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/D3Hoopsville. You can interact with us there too. We got a chat room going, or you can email us, all that stuff. Let's continue talking men's basketball, Illinois College. If you have not looked at what they've actually done in the last couple of seasons, you might be missing something pretty impressive. They were 25-3 last year, finishing 15-1 in the conference, the Midwest Conference. This season, they're undefeated at 10-0. And they're 4-0 so far in conference play. They have lost 3 games. That's it in the last season and a half. Of course, one of those coming in the NCAA tournament in the opening round against Wheaton, a little bit bittersweet. The other 2 losses, second game of the season last year against Millikin, and then a random loss in late January to Cornell in conference play. The Blue Boys have been absolutely bonkers and certainly gotten top 25 voters taking a really good look at them and getting them into the poll. Steve Schweer, the head coach, is an Illinois Wesleyan grad. He certainly knows what it means to try and pull off a win in many ways and have a tough schedule. He joins us on the Hoopsville hotline to talk all about it. We should point out you were traveling all day, so thanks very much for carving out some of your evening. I'm sure you're exhausted.
No worries. It's always a good opportunity for us to get a chance to talk about our kids and our program. So I'm thankful for the opportunity, and everybody made it back safe. We had a good trip to Milwaukee, so happy to be on.
Yep, you guys were played Milwaukee just yesterday, Milwaukee School of Engineering, we should point out, got a 72-68 win. That was your first game back after the exam break that you all had. You had gotten a win against, you had gone 4 straight against conference prior to that. Cornell, Ripon, Monmouth, and Lawrence. Hey, listen, we're off to another great start, right? And as I just said, 3 losses in a season and a half here, one of them being in the NCAA tournament against, let's be honest, a really good Wheaton squad.
Really good.
This isn't where Illinois College has been. I don't know if you got the memo, but 2 years ago was 14-11. That was pretty good. 6-19 prior to the pandemic. 9-16, 8. Last time we go back to a winning season was 13-14 when they were 13-10. Prior to that, 2010, 2011, pretty spectacular at 16-8. You were 25-3 last year, Steve. You guys are way above what we expect out of Illinois College. It's got to be special there on campus right now.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun. I think, we try to take it one step at a time. Obviously, this is my 6th year now here, and we were able to really bring in some high quality kids who kind of, jumped into the deep end when they were freshmen. I mean, we threw them into the fire, and they kind of had to figure things out for themselves. And So we struggled early, and we were trying to sell them on the idea that we could do something that had never been done here. Our goal was and remains to win our league on a yearly basis, and we had never done that before. We had never won the Midwest Conference, and so last year was our first year doing that, and it was awesome because the kids that we had recruited really hard in our first cycle, that we were pitching that to, were seniors last year. So they went from that 6-19 year was their first year, and we finished in dead last, to last year, their senior year, being able to have the type of success that we did and be able to win the league, and then win the conference tournament, get a chance in the big dance. So it's been great, and I would be remiss if I didn't say we're having success across the board in our athletic department. Our football program won the conference tournament or a conference championship this year. Our soccer team won a conference championship this year. Volleyball finished second. All these teams that are playing really well for us makes it a special time to be at Illinois College. So happy to be a part of it. But like you said, our kids have been great, and they battle hard, and we've been able to come out on the right side of a lot of these things the last year and a half.
That's the key, though, right? I mean, that's the entire department is seeing this success. That seems to be the significant hook. And I've said it across Division III. You can always have, listen, I'm going to go to a Division I reference, and maybe I'm a little bit off here, but Gonzaga, we all hear about men's basketball. We don't really hear about a ton of other sports there. So you get those one-offs. But when it's an entire department that's succeeding, it breeds more success because everyone has the confidence now. And it's not just it's basketball winning. We can't do that.
No. Well, I think you're right, and it's creates a pretty unique atmosphere, and people want to follow teams that are having success. And so I feel like, the Jacksonville community has been great rallying around our teams. And I think, we're starting to get, some people from outside our area starting to notice for not just for us in men's basketball, but for all of our programs. And, I think credit is due to obviously our student athletes first and foremost, but also our administration has done a great job of really committing to our athletic programs, and that starts from the president on down to our AD, and we're very fortunate, and it's been this is a phenomenal fall on the hilltop here in Jacksonville, and it's been really, really fun, and we're just trying to do our part. I'm really proud of our guys. Obviously, we're off to a great start, and we want to keep that rolling. And we're just trying to continue to play the best that we can and try and raise the bar for our program.
Talking to Steve Schweer here, head coach of the Blue Boys of Illinois College. What was last season's finale like from your all's perspective? Again, you had lost to Cornell back on January 25th. Previously to that, it was a loss in the second game of the season on the 12th of November. You guys at this point had kind of gotten rolling with some good wins. I mean, a win over Brockport, 79-63 last year was no joke of a win at all.
Yeah.
But it came to a crashing halt in the opening round at Wheaton in the NCAA tournament, 79-66. What taste did that leave with you all? How did you react to that? And how has that moved into this season?
Yeah, it was uncharted waters for us. I mean, honestly, we had never been in the tournament. None of our guys had ever been in the national tournament. And I guess I kind of equated on a bigger scale to, in 21-22, when we made it to the conference tournament for the first time, we lost to Ripon in the first game of the conference tournament. And our mentality moving on from there was, we're not going to finish our season on a Friday again. We want to make it. We want to make it to the second game and give ourselves a chance for the big prize. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of our mentality that season. And obviously, the following year we were able to kind of finish it with the conference tournament. And then again, we found ourselves in a place that we hadn't been before. And we up against a team who had been and had fifth year guys that were really, really good. And so, I thought we went up there. I thought we competed. The first half, if you watch it, we missed 40 shots in that game. And some of that, I give Wheaton a lot of credit. They're a good defensive team. But some of that, if you watch the film, we missed 5 or 6 layups in the first half. And I think I don't think we were that far off. I mean, we played them even in the second half. I know that doesn't matter. Nobody cares about the score at halftime and all that other stuff. Like we weren't good enough to win that game. And credit to Wheaton, they were a phenomenal team. But I'm hopeful that maybe if we're able to be lucky enough to get back there, that the stage is not going to be too big for us. And we're going to feel maybe a little bit more comfortable going into a place that we've been before. In all likelihood, we're going to be on the road somewhere, and that's okay. Our mentality is the same. We want to play to our standard on a nightly basis. We want to compete as hard as we possibly can. We want to defend at a high level, and we want to make things tough for our opponents. And we think if we do that the way that we're capable of, that we're going to have a chance in any game that we play.
Your team is surprisingly young. You've got 3 graduate or seniors, 3 juniors, 4 sophomores, and a load of freshmen.
Yep.
We were just talking to Coach Sieverding at Dubuque, where it's a bit of a balance, but he's got that senior group, that older group that certainly has a lot of experience. We talk about a lot of people. How are you doing this, especially right now, with such a young team and maybe less of that, at least on the roster, of that senior leadership that you normally would see?
Right. So, I mean, a big piece of it is that our senior class last year was gigantic. We had like 9 guys on the roster that were seniors, and they were great. Like I said, that was that first group that we brought in, and we knew that we were going to lose a lot of those guys. So we had to have, a good class of freshmen this year, which I think we were successful with. We've got a couple guys that are getting some time from us out of that group, but there's a lot of guys that are kind of waiting in the wings that we're really, really excited about. So we certainly have some talented young people, but our senior group right now are all 3 of those guys were really significant players for us last year. And so they're all have kind of stepped into even more of a leadership role. And I think we have some eager young guys who are willing to listen and learn, which I think is sometimes rare, for high caliber players to come in and really try to embrace the fact that there's some people who have a little bit more experience and have been around the block before and really try to pay heed to the things that they're telling them. And I think that's been really important for us, so the 3 seniors that we have all started last year. That's Jake Maz, Nestor DeBoyne, and Jaquez Tippett. Those guys all started for us last year. And then we've got another junior who started every game or most of the games for us last year. Buzz Ritzel is a great player. And then another junior who came off the bench is kind of our 6th man last year, but played starter minutes. So we've got a lot of experience back in our top group. But beyond that, we've had to work our way through, some bumps and figuring out what our rotation looks like and having some guys that haven't necessarily had varsity time before trying to figure out their roles. And so it's been a work in progress, but, we've been guarded, we've really been defending well. And so, like I said, on nights where we've struggled on the other end, we've been able to still be in games and fortunately come out on the right side so far this year.
We should point out the 3 in double figures in terms of scoring, at least on the stat sheet for the season, are the upperclassmen in Ritzel and Mazermis and Harris. By the way, Josh Harris, he's not related to Josh Harris from Deadliest Catch, right? You didn't somehow pull in the captain to play basketball, right? No?
No,
okay.
Unfortunately not.
I'm glad you got the reference. I appreciate that the very most.
Yep.
But those are the 3 guys that are leading the way in terms of scoring. You've certainly got 3 more at 6+ points in Davian, Tippett, and Thompson. So obviously the underclassmen have a role, but you're also, as we were just talking with Coach Sieverding, you're also playing a lot of players. I mean, you are not afraid to put someone on the court, are you? As he put it, you got to get them experience.
Yeah, like I said, we've got some guys that can really do some things. I mean, the 2 freshmen that play significant minutes for us right now are Seth Doss and Austin Robinson, and they're both bigger guys that kind of bang around on the inside and play really hard and rebound the basketball. And they're both going to be great players for us over the next 4 years. And we've been trying to find ways to get them in as much as we can. And, Austin, both of them really played big roles for us in the second half. Nestor was a little banged up. And so in our last game, but they've done a nice job. And then some of the other guys, Ty Lenhart has come in and got minutes for us off the bench. He had 18 points against Milliken. He was here last year, but he was hurt. So really he's kind of a freshman anyways. We have another guy, Nick DeRoskin, who's just like that, and he's still trying to get his feet underneath him. Marcus Coleman's a freshman from St. Louis that, has gotten some sporadic minutes for us, and we're excited about him. And there's a whole host of other guys too. Matt Thompson is another guy he's been really scoring the ball for us nicely off the bench, and he's a junior, but he hadn't played any significant minutes for us prior to this year. So even some of the guys that are playing the bigger roles for us off the bench are guys that, this is their first varsity time. So we've had to kind of figure that out. Like last year, all the guys we turned to that were coming off the bench were all seniors, except for Josh. So they've been around forever, and exactly what you're going to get from them, and they're steady and all that other stuff. And now we go into a new year, and we've got that top group who's a great nucleus who has been through the fire a little bit, but then we've got a bunch of other guys who are trying to figure out, how they fit. And that's not always easy for them or for the team as a whole. But you're right. We try to get guys in. Those young guys got to get on the floor, and sometimes it's, quick spurts, but the more times that we can do that, the better off I think we're going to be down the road.
We should point out, and I probably should have mentioned it earlier, 6 of those guys that you're playing are averaging 20 plus minutes a game. You've got 2 others that are 8 and 9 minutes. Everybody else kind of gets more sporadic minutes. So yeah, you're playing a lot of guys, but not obviously you're leaning on those 6 far more than the rest. Up ahead, that's kind of the reason we had you on. You got Augustana coming up here on the 21st. Then you'll take a break for the holidays. Then you'll head to Otterbein, where you're playing Covenant on one side of that. I'm not sure who's on the other.
It's Otterbein and Adrian.
Adrian, right. That's what it was. Good little tests here. Dip your toes in the water again in the CCIW with an Augustana team. Maybe that isn't what we're used to, but you'll get some good tests. Otterbein certainly could potentially be a big game for you guys before you pivot back into conference play and start off with Beloit, Ripon, and Knox. How important is this next couple of weeks in terms of maybe not wins and losses, but what you guys want to get accomplished or at least kind of get through to get yourself ready to get back into conference action?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our goal, like I said, every year is to try and win our league. And so we look at our opportunities in the non-conference as chances for us to try and elevate our level of play and try to correct some things that maybe need to be corrected before we get back into conference play. We're going to be doing that against good teams. Augustana is a good team. It doesn't matter to me what their record is. They're good every year. They got good players. They're well coached, and we're on the road for all 3 of these games. So we're going to go and battle the best we can, and hopefully, like I said, play to our standard. That's we harp on that continuously. Like, we need to compete at a high level. We need to fight for every possession. We need to value every possession. We need to guard every single possession is the most important in the entire game. And those are the things that we're continuing to try to work towards. 40 minutes of intensity. And we've done a good job in spurts. And if we want to win these games coming up, we're going to have to do even better. And the closer we can get to that, the better off we're going to be once we start back up with conference play. But, I said this the other day, it's really, really hard to win one game. It is so hard to win a game. And so I haven't even started thinking about what's going to happen for us in Ohio. I'm starting to watch film on Augie and trying to get us ready for practice tomorrow morning. And, we're going to do the best we can there. And then hopefully we can maybe learn a lesson or 2 from that. Guys will get home and get some rest and be with family over Christmas. And then we're going to come back and get after it again, and the trip out to Ohio is good for us because it's about 6 hours, and that's the farthest we go in our league. We have a couple trips that are about 6 hours, but that's also could be the farthest that we would go if we're able to make the national tournament in a bus. So to me, going on the road and playing against a good team hopefully we got to play Covenant first. They can beat us too. So if we get a chance to play against the host team, like, hopefully this is something that we can use as preparation for us if we're able to continue to be successful throughout the rest of the season.
We should point out Beloit's 8-2 right now. Grinnell's 8-2. Knox 6-3. Monmouth 5-5. Then it's kind of a fall off to the rest. We all know what Grinnell brings to the table. They're the wild card in this entire group and what you got to get ready for twice a year. But what are you expecting from this conference in general? Who can give you the biggest test to try and thwart your chances at what you want, another conference crown and another NCAA tournament berth?
Sure. And I don't mean to this is not a cop out, and I'll give it a caveat in a second.
I'm going to get the sad trombone ready. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a dogfight in every single game. When you play in league games, like every single team could beat you. And we've got a couple teams that have struggled early. That I don't think that's going to be the case for the remainder of the conference season. We've had a couple teams get guys hurt that are significant for them, and they're going to come back. And Ripon, has played. I mean, they've struggled a little bit so far this season, but they have an incredible schedule, and they play teams tough and they compete hard, and they've got some good players. Beloit is old and been together since they were young. They got a bunch of seniors and they really compete and they guard and they're physical. And so it's not a surprise to me, honestly, that they are where they're at. I thought they were good last year. They just came up short in some of those games, and to have all those guys back, and then you mentioned Grinnell. They're hard to play against. The way they play is difficult to prepare for, and it's a challenge mentally for your guys. And it's just tough. Those are just tough games. And then Knox is playing really well, and they've added some new pieces that are really nice for them. And we've got good teams in our league, and they're well coached, and they prepare and they compete. And so, again, we're just hoping that we can continue to trend in the right direction as we go through the season, and hopefully continue to get better so that we're playing our best at the end of the season. And hopefully we're in the top four and we get a chance to play for the tournament, and if we can win that, then we get a chance at the big one. And that's kind of where we want to be. So we'll see.
We mentioned earlier you graduate of Illinois Wesleyan, as we've talked about in the past. You were there with their team that last made it to the Final Four, if memory serves. Not too bad. You weren't a bad player at all. You certainly had your moments. I believe, let's see, I'm double checking because I was genuinely curious. 2.4 points per game in the 05-06 season. I mean, that was solid, more than I had.
Right. Here, this is what I tell everybody. Like, if you play with the guys that I play with, like they shouldn't have let me shoot the ball at all, and I hardly did. But it probably might have not even been a good decision when I did. I probably should have given it to one of them. So.
Well, my genuine question though is, I went and double checked the schedule since you became head coach at Illinois College. There's not been a game against Illinois Wesleyan anywhere on the schedule. Do I need to make a call to the Titans scheduling guru, Bob Quillman, to figure out why the obvious game has not taken place? Or is Ron Rose now officially scared of you and he's not taking your calls? I'm literally trying to spin up trouble as best I can.
Well, it's working probably. We're working on it. We're working on it.
I don't buy it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Ron, and obviously for the program, and we're close. So like we should play, and I've been talking to them about the potential of maybe getting in their tournament, and so I'm hopeful that coming up soon, we can see that matchup.
I would love to see that, just for a nostalgic point of view, but also just it shows where your program has gotten. In comparison, I'm sure, and this is no shot at you or Ron, but I'm pretty sure 3-4 years ago, that's not a game they want to pick up necessarily, because it doesn't help them get what they need accomplished or their resume or anything. But right now, that's a pretty good one to have, and it's worth going after. So this is where you brought the program. So now that we can have this conversation, you can take an 1.5-hour long bus ride. Or have them take the 1.5-hour long bus ride and play each other.
Yeah, no, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, the reality is, like, as we've continued to get better, like we've got other teams that are wanting to play against us, and we're searching out games that are going to challenge us in different ways. And, and I'm thankful that we're in that position, but I will say, like, again, I want the credit for where we're at as a program to belong to our players. They've been the ones that have really bought into what we're trying to do, and they've been the ones that have put in the work, and they're scoring all the baskets and getting all the stops. And so, they deserve the credit for this. And we've had tremendous kids come through here in the last 6 years that are all moved on to do really great things once they've been done. And I think probably what I'm most proud of, and one of the things that we set off to do when we first started here, was to build something that people are proud enough of that they want to keep coming back. And to see a lot of the guys that have graduated over the course of the last few years coming back to watch our games and meet our new guys and spend time around the program, I think is probably one of the things I'm most proud of.
Well, I appreciate you humoring us, and congratulations, to say the least. I know it took more time than I expected. We're running behind, but I really appreciate the insight. And I know we had you on last year. Admittedly, I barely remember what we talked about, but I do appreciate just a different perspective here pre-Christmas, pre-turn of the year, to get an idea of how you all are doing. Congratulations on where the program is, the top 25 attention and all that. As always, I would give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuned in?
Yeah, no, I just thanks again for everything that you do. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Illinois College and, our basketball program. Like I said, we've got great kids here who work really hard at it, and they deserve, some of the attention that they're getting. But just a general thanks for everything that you do for basketball at our level and D3 hoops in general. This is a special level of ball, and a lot of really great people here. And I appreciate it. I know a lot of other coaches appreciate all that you do for us. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Steve. Certainly not necessary, but I appreciate it all the same. Enjoy the rest of the season, no matter what happens. Hopefully we're talking about you on a selection show in the future, and enjoy it at the very least.
Will do. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Steve Schweer joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Great to talk to him about the Blue Boys and how well they're playing. Again, they've got Augustana coming up here in a good game on the 21st. Then they'll be at Otterbein for that game against Covenant, and probably Otterbein, but Adrian on the other side. Then they get back into conference play. Should be a doozy. We'll take a break. When we come back, pivot. We'll head out to the East Coast. Hopefully they've dried out outside Philadelphia. Talk women's basketball with Fred Richter and the Bulldogs of DeSales. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops. Back with more after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was scared and shy. It was hard to look at people's faces. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. I made friends and won lots of gold medals. But I learned more than just playing golf. Special Olympics helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We are calling you, all of you. We are calling all Division III schools to join our cause.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go into personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. As we continue along on this Monday, the 18th. I think I said Thursday somewhere. My brain is fried. A reminder, though, that Thursday's show will not be taking place. We will be live on the air, back on the air on January 4th. Daryl Duncan on our YouTube simulcast says, always enjoy your interviews with the coaches. My Whitworth men try to halt a 2-game losing streak when they play those Dubuque men. Ugh. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Yeah, good luck with that, Daryl. That is a good Dubuque team that you're going to face, of course, in Hawaii. So I have zero sympathy for anybody out there playing in those games. If you want to interact with us, this information's at the bottom of your screen. We're live simulcasting on YouTube and Facebook. You can certainly chat with us there if you want. You can also email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. Scoring update that I meant to give at the end of last segment, and I totally forgot. Big score, big upset. In overtime, North Park loses to Dominican on the men's side of things, 89-86. Dominican the win with that. That's a surprising loss for a pretty good North Park team. We'll dive in and take a look at other scores around Division III later in the broadcast, but we wanted to get that one out. Thanks to Ryan Scott for pointing it out to me. All right, talking women's basketball, DeSales Bulldogs once again having a tremendous season. Fred Richter's squad seems to never go away. 27-2 last season, 22-4 the season before that. Before pandemic, it was 23-5, 27-3 respectively. This season, they are 7-1, a tough loss to an interesting Muhlenberg squad in the opening game of the season in a low-scoring affair, 44-41. They took it out on St. Elizabeth the next game, winning 94-53. Just got a big win over Messiah, 64-46. Admittedly, a Messiah squad who is 7-2 and kind of looking interesting this season. Maybe not that powerful team we know. They've got a big game coming up against Scranton here in Tuesday, tomorrow. And then they'll be down at Daytona Beach to take on Principia and Hamlin before they jump back into a different MAC Freedom. So joining us on the Hoopsville hotline to discuss all of that with us is the head coach of the DeSales Bulldogs women's team. It's Fred Richter. Coach, as always, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Dave, for having me. I really do appreciate being on.
Listen, first off, nationally ranked, no surprise there. Let's just start with the Muhlenberg result, because I have a gut feeling that didn't sit well with you on November 15th, the day after the game. 44-41 in a low-scoring affair, the game just down the road, and I literally mean just down the road against Muhlenberg. You scored only 6 points in the fourth quarter, and the team shot 24% from the floor. I'm sure that was a lovely day of the 15th.
It was an ugly game. There's no doubt about it. We were 1 for 20 from the field in the fourth quarter and scored 6 points after having a lead in the fourth quarter and going into the fourth quarter. Taking nothing away from Muhlenberg at all. They do have some talent. There's no doubt about that. We were playing at their place. It was our first game, and we were the uglier of the two teams in an ugly game. We learned a lot about what we want to be, not who we were that night, and we've made lots of progress since then.
Ron Rohn certainly has a way of taking teams and frustrating them with his own team. And I say that with all the love in the world for Ron. Since then, though, undefeated win over Susquehanna that we didn't mention. Centenary, which flying a little under the radar, they're actually having a pretty good season. You got to win over them by 16. As we said, you dominated Messiah. Really, when you look at the results, other than that Muhlenberg game, you are absolutely controlling teams this season.
Our schedule has been interesting. We've had one home game in that 7-1 record, and that was Immaculata on one of our pink days, Jimmy V. Classic for us. We played very well in the Messiah game defensively, and at their place again. So we're road tested, and this is only our second home game coming up tomorrow night with Scranton, and we're looking forward to that as well.
That's a big game. Scranton comes in ranked. You guys come in ranked. Scranton has been playing extremely well despite coaching changes due to the success of coaches there. You all certainly know each other well. This is a big pre-Christmas tilt for the two of you. It has a lot on the, not on the line, I don't want to say it that way, but it will have a lot of ramifications down the road.
It could very well be, even though we're in different regions, and each regional ranking, it should be significant. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And with our league games coming up in January, we really would like to get a couple more wins under our belt and feel real good about actually having 7 home games and 7 away games in the second half of the season in 2024. Scranton is very tough, loaded with guards, some tough inside people. They're very deep. Watched a lot of tape. I'm very impressed with them.
Yeah, they're undefeated. Unfortunately, absolutely rolled over my alma mater 98-31 in their last game out. I wasn't going to mention it, but it is their last game out, so I got to mention it. 98-31 was certainly a shellacking, though that was 10 days ago. They've been dealing with their exams, as everybody has, so there certainly are plenty of distractions.
That's right.
But nothing against Goucher. My alma mater, in 10 days' time, they go from them to you with exams in between. I have a feeling, this is a tough test for them. What are you hoping to throw at them? And I don't want you to give away the game plan necessarily, but what are you hoping to do that is going to be key to getting a win?
I think we're coming from the same place they are. We're pressure man-to-man defense teams. We like to press. We like to run. They might count on the 3-ball a little more than we do. We count on getting out into the lanes and going. If we don't get that many fast break looks, then we've got to be doing a very good job of running our half-court offense. And they'll probably feel the same way. We mirror each other. We really do. And if you watch our tape and their tape, you'll see a whole lot of similarities. I don't know that either team is going to change what they do for this game.
But it's also a NCAA tournament type of game here in mid-December that I'm sure you're going to be able to win or lose, reference and use in terms of getting your team prepared, not only the rest of the season, but come March when you're right back in this spot. You guys lost the NCAA tournament last year to Mary Washington in a close affair. I'm assuming this Scranton game has a lot of meaningful options for you no matter what happens tomorrow.
Absolutely. As far as learning how to deal with good pressure and learning how to use our pressure as well, I think we'll find out against a very good team what we need to work on down the road as well. But this is a true tried and tested D3 powerhouse that we're playing. We scrimmaged them last year. We lost to them at their place the year before in some very competitive basketball. A lot of fun to watch us play each other. At least
Yeah,
that's what I've been told.
I'm certainly, I'm going to say, I'm sure from your perspective on the bench, it's a little bit different. I'm looking forward to hopefully tuning into it. It's a 5 p.m. start for anybody who's interested on the 19th. Interesting enough, only 3 wins over the Royals in the last 15 games. Does that mean anything?
Not really. A lot of things have changed in that respect, especially from their side on the coaching aspect. But the talent levels are very similar. We finished. The last time we beat them was the third of 3 times in a row. And then we've lost the last 3 games. I haven't looked back that far. I've looked at the last 6 times that we've played. Our girls know their girls. Their girls know us pretty well also. So you're right. There's a lot riding on it. And a lot of it has to do with pride and a little of the street value of who got who.
Yeah, fair. I get that. Let's talk about your team. You got 1 graduate student. You got 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't do math. Let's see here. 4 seniors and a graduate student, 1 junior, a load of sophomores, and a handful of freshmen. This is as good as you're playing, and I would argue maybe one of the better teams you've had, considering last year's team was bonkers good as well. It's surprisingly young in terms of how many freshmen you have, and yes, 5 seniors, but that's kind of where it is. It's a senior freshman type team, right? Well, I'm sorry, sophomore senior team. I spoke that wrong.
Yeah, we are very much experienced with those 5 seniors. 4 of them have started most of their career, and with Meg Beeler and our center doing a lot of damage. That's for darn sure. We are senior minutes. If you take a look at the minutes played, those 5 seniors take up a lot of our minutes, and there's good reason for that because of their experience, their size, and our ability to get up and down the court and defend. We do start a sophomore at the point guard, McKaylee Dunmoyer, and then it's the 4 seniors with Michaela Reese and Meg Beeler and Liv Scotty and Lindsay Welsh. And then Amelia Saunders comes off the bench, and she's a very good player and a very good shooter as well. We go into a sophomore and a freshman coming off the bench on the inside, and then 2 freshmen back up the point guard. And then we have a transfer who is our 4th guard on the wing. So you're right. We do have a pretty good mix, but I think if you look at the 5 seniors, we go as they go.
That makes total sense. We should point out Reese is leading the team at 16 points a game. Of course, she's one of those seniors, as you mentioned. Beeler, she's the grad student. She's second on the team in scoring at 12.9, 9.5 from Lindsay Welsh. And you've got a whole mess of other players who are certainly contributing, but it is that core group. Does this feel like a season you need to take advantage of?
Absolutely. We graduate those 5 young ladies, and they're hard to replace. Lots of experience, lots of wins behind them, and play our style as well as just about any team that I've coached.
That's saying a lot, Fred. You've coached a lot of really good teams.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that any of them are as experienced as this one is, to be honest with you. Now, we obviously we don't have Leanne Burke or Kim Rarick or Morgan Vermillion and play young ladies like that are all Americans that have just been wonderful. But these young ladies that I have now, I count on, I trust. They're likable, they're coachable, they're fun to be around.
You are in your 34th season in Center Valley. You have accumulated 646 wins against 252 losses, a winning percentage of about 72%. That is a heck of a career, especially all of it there at DeSales. What is that evolution been like from your perspective of to this point, 34 seasons in now, and still having such a successful rate year in and year out?
Well, I think recruiting, as many of us know, you get some good players. We're right now we have some long players who can press and run, and that's what we've been after. And we've had some very some tremendous success in the last 5 or 6 years. And I think that really breeds more success. But we put in lots of work in the gym and in the recruiting trail, and trying to put together teams that play the style that we're best known for, getting after you for 90 feet and 94 feet, depending on how long the court is these days, and just doing what we do.
Yeah, I know a lot of teams that just dread seeing your defense show up on the floor, even though they know it's coming. In those 34 years, you've certainly seen a lot of different versions of a conference. This one's another twist on the MAC Freedom, as Lebanon Valley has come over, as the door is always turning in the MAC, it seems. When one door opens, another one definitely opens. You had the switches with Lyco and Wilkes, and now you got to switch with Leb Val. Does it ever settle down?
When we first joined the MAC about 26 years ago, I thought that was the cat's meow. We had Kings, we had Scranton 1 year. All three of us made the tournament. We were just loaded on both sides, and then people took off, and we stayed, and it's changed. There's no doubt about it. This 8-team league I like a lot. That we don't have a bye. Wilkes and Lebanon Valley have moved on, and Wilkes and Lycoming have moved on. Lebanon Valley adds something to the conference. We've had tremendous success against the two that are leaving. Lev Val will create a different situation. It allows us to play Scranton and Messiah and teams like that in the off-season and non-league games, and that helps us as well. I'd like to think there's going to be some stability. Can't predict that, but I'd like to think that we. Yeah,
wait 5 minutes, right? I mean, who knows? Yes. No, I agree. I do like that you're in a little bit more of a lower number in terms of league play, so you can go out there and get those games against the Scrantons and the Messiahs and the like, the Muhlenbergs for that matter, Susquehanna, and some good teams around you, because there's certainly a lot of good basketball between Washington, D.C. and New York City that you can dip your toes into. Speaking of which, though, you're heading down to Daytona Beach, Florida, to play a couple of games. What's interesting is first you're playing Principia and Hamlin, not exactly teams you would normally pick up in a regular season. Coach, both games are at 10 a.m. What is that all about?
Well, I'm not necessarily crazy about it. But
I wouldn't either.
Reality is sometimes the men's game still rules, because if you look at the schedule for the rest of the day, after the 10 and 11 o'clock games, and maybe 12 at the latest, it's all men's games. Now, you talk to some of my ladies, and that means that they're out on the beach at 12:30 in the afternoon, and maybe they like that more. It is going to be an adjustment. Our plane leaves at 6 a.m. and from Philly, and it leaves from Daytona Beach at 6 a.m. at the end of the show as well on New Year's Eve. So it's a lot of early time, but it does leave a lot of time for the ladies to experience what they hope will be some great weather, and so do I.
Listen, I shouldn't knock it too much. That is our friends at Sport Tours running that event in Daytona as well. Yes. So I certainly see the schedule, and I know there's some good teams that are going to be there as well. It's interesting. Husson women are at that event in Daytona. The Husson men are at our event with Sport Tours in Las Vegas. By the way, we got to get you and the men's team in Vegas. When are you going to make this happen when you get both teams, including bring BJ along with you?
All right. Well, here's the deal. I like the tournaments, and that's where we raise our money, in-season tournaments. Our men's team likes to go to Europe once every 4 years. So, and we got, we did Las Vegas at least 5 times.
Yeah, we've loved having you.
Yeah, and it's great. We enjoyed it. We talked a lot about what a little better weather might bring, a little closer distance in respect to flight time, maybe bring the prices down, whatever the case may be. We're looking forward to this experience in Daytona Beach. I don't know that you'll ever catch the men and women headed to Vegas together or Daytona Beach together. I just don't think it'll happen.
Come on, Fred. I need something from you here. I need you to lean on that athletics director of yours and tell him how it's really supposed to be.
Well, we get along extremely well, but we have different ideas of what we want to do with our fundraising money. And BJ's been along on our trip a number of times back in the day. He's been to Vegas with us 2 or 3 times.
No, absolutely. Just having a lot of fun. It just couldn't resist taking a shot at Scott if I could without him being around. Heck, I even dragged BJ into that conversation. I'm sure I'm going to be I'm sure I'll get a few texts from people by tomorrow. Hey, Fred, really appreciate the time. Great insight on a team. You are playing bonkers well. I'd be surprised if Valera Hall wasn't going to be the site of some great games, not only in conference play, but maybe into March. I wish you all the best of luck. Congratulations on where you are. I hope you keep coaching for a little longer as well. We enjoy chatting with you. But as always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Well, Dave, D3Hoops.com has been a really important part of us getting to be known nationally as well as our travel. We really appreciate your coverage. The MAC is one of the oldest leagues in the country, and we're proud to be part of it and represent it as much as we can in the NCAAs as well.
Well, you do well, and you certainly are off to another tremendous start to this season. By the way, thanks to your wife on the technical help. We should give her some public shout out.
Believe me. I needed it, believe me.
Well, we appreciate it too. Hey, thanks for taking time out of your evening to join us, Fred. Take care of yourself. Look forward to catching up with you down the road, and I'm sure I'll see you somewhere.
Thank you again. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Fred. Enjoy your holidays.
You too.
Fred Richter joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. Great to chat with him as always. I just love chatting DeSales basketball with Fred. And listen, they are a dangerous team, people. Keep an eye on them. We could be talking a good little run there from the Bulldogs. I look forward to seeing how it plays out. That game against Scranton, 5 o'clock on Tuesday, worth tuning into as well. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Hope women's coach, Brian Morehouse. Great, insightful chat with him. I loved our conversation as well. Probably one of the best I've had with Brian, and we've had some good ones. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. Back with more after this. The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC 1927. That's NABC.com or NABC 1927 on social media.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
It's on us.
Actually going to cut that off, get things rolling, because we got some great chats to go, and we're a little bit behind schedule. But thanks for tuning in. Hoopsville here on this Monday evening, the 18th. If I've said Thursday earlier on, just ignore me. My brain is in other gears. Earlier today, I got a chance to talk to Brian Morehouse, the Hope women's basketball team, once again playing well. Surprisingly, and I do mean this seriously, surprisingly 8-1 on the season, because I don't think anybody would expect a Hope women's team to lose before they get into conference play. But they played some good games, as we talk about here with Brian. Their one loss coming to Wisconsin Lutheran. I've talked to Brian more, and I'll talk about it later, but this might have been one of my favorite conversations as Brian joined us earlier today to talk about his team. Now joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, it's the head coach of the Hope women's basketball team. Seems you're on the show all the time, Brian, but we never get you this time of year, so we thought we'd try it a little different. It's Brian Morehouse from Hope. Welcome to the show, as always, sir. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It's we love what you do for the game. Division III has been propelled infinitely forward by your energy and D3 Hoops, because we don't always have a platform, and you've provided that for us and made our sport on the women's side especially even more relevant than what I already think it is, and it's shown a great spotlight on what is a great product right now in women's basketball.
Well, thanks, Brian. I agree with you. I think it's absolutely fun to watch, not to mention the fact it is getting deeper. I think that testament is being shown not only in last year's tournament, where you guys fell maybe earlier than many would have expected, but to a very good basketball team. More importantly, you already have had a loss this year to really, I think, a sneaky good Wisconsin Lutheran team, even in history. They've always been kind of a tough team. But we're seeing that depth, Brian. It's not just about, the top 5 or 10 teams now. There's 25, 30, 40 teams that are certainly competitive now, and I'm probably even shortchanging that.
I would agree. I think the depth is greater than it's ever been in my 28 years. And there's just so many, due to transfers, some of it, due to just women's basketball improving. And, back in the day, you had 1 or 2 kids that could dribble on a team and everybody else played forward or post. And now everybody can dribble. And we're running a lot more complex defenses and offenses and having kids that can make shots. So the game is as healthy as it's ever been. And it's fun to coach. And I think it's fun to watch.
Per that, does it make recruiting a little bit more challenging, or being that your hope, and I mean that legitimately because you guys have certain intangibles that attract the student athletes you're looking for, does it make recruiting a little bit more challenging, or is it easier because there's actually a lot more talent out there?
I think it makes it more difficult on a couple different avenues. One, we don't have a graduate school, so grad transfers can't come here.
Good point. Yeah.
So that makes it more difficult for us. Number 2, I just think because of the internet, live streams, Twitter, social media, you don't have secrets anymore. There aren't kids hiding. We used to know where certain kids were, and I was like, I don't think anyone's going to look as hard as we did to find that kid. We're going to get better. Now I think it's a lot more even playing field. And then I think, the next big piece that's happening is the NIL is going to tilt D3 on its head. And then we're going to have to make some real big decisions that some schools already have it, but it's going to come, and there's going to be some big decisions that need to be made.
No, that's a gentle way of saying that. There's definitely going to be a bit of a coming to whatever conversation at a lot of colleges, and we'll see how that plays out. And we certainly will talk more in depth about that in the new year. We should point out we're already working on a lot of that. Brian, this is a team, again, as we mentioned, lost the NCAA tournament maybe sooner than many expected in what was one of the more exciting tournaments I think we've had in a long time. You guys reset literally 5 new starters coming into this season. Granted, they've been with the program, but still new roles for them, new expectations. And you're out to an 8-1 start. Is that what you expected, with knowing you were going to have a bit of a turnover this offseason?
Well, I think expected and in a best case scenario hope for, those are 2 different things.
True.
I think it would be difficult to say with a really good schedule that we had put together, and it only gets harder tomorrow night and Wednesday night. I think 8-1 would have been an aggressive thing, but I also was able to watch how hard these women worked this fall. The earlier start time aided us tremendously. I don't know that a school in the nation replaced 5 starters. Maybe they did, but I don't know who they are, but we did. And I know that, September and October, even though it was 7 practices, made all the difference in the world for us. So very excited about where we're at. Love the growth of our team. We're going to still be a bit of a roller coaster because of our youth all year long. And I'm here for it. I enjoy going to practice. It's so different than what it's been. And that's a good thing for me because it keeps me fresh. It keeps me coaching. And, if I had hair, I would have probably lost some of it. But it also is the best thing about coaching because, it's you're watching players get better quickly, whereas the last few years it's been a drip, drip, drip. Right now you see big jumps from the women in our program. And, and there are days that they have setbacks, and that's okay. Because of their youth, but then they are resilient and they hop back on it, and they're usually great the next day. So it's been fun. it's been a lot of fun.
You have 16 players on this team. Oh, by the way, I'm getting a haircut later this week. Do you want me to send you the leftovers?
Because no, I'm good with where I'm at. I made that decision a while ago. I'm rolling with it.
Just want to be, equal opportunity and
it's
giving time. It's giving season. So.
Yeah, that's right.
You got 16 players on this team. You've played all 16, and it's not like you've played, a handful in just one game. The least who's played is 3 out of those 8 games. You're playing pretty much everybody in the vast majority of your contests. So not only do you have 5 new starters, and you talk about being a young team, a team that only has 1 senior, 5 juniors, and the rest sophomores and freshmen. But more importantly, you're playing everybody. You're getting them all that experience. And I know with a program like yours and what you like to do in terms of offense and defense, that's pretty important, not only for the rest of this season, but moving forward as well.
Yeah, I think it's just what we believe in our program. Last year we just had so much experience. We probably tweaked the minutes a little bit more to play our seniors a bit more, but we were still playing a lot of people. This year, depending on the day, our second group beats our first group, and then the next day our first group beats our second group. And, it's just with youth, we're still trying to figure out all their superpowers, to be perfectly honest. And, we haven't quite mastered the Space Jam, secret juice, special juice stuff, but, we're trying to find out what their superpowers are each and every day and trying to untap those all the time.
You talk about the particulars a little bit. Olivia Bellows leading the way, 13-plus points a game. You've got 10.5 from Sydney Viss, yep. Viss, yeah, okay. Overthought that for a second. Nearly 10 points a game, we should point out, from Carson Carblum. Sorry, I can't read. My glasses are on. I can't read today, apparently. But you're also getting contributions from others. There's 4 or 5 more players who are averaging 5 points or more. This isn't a 1 or 2 person show. This is 5, 6 players who can legitimately put points up. And we haven't even talked about the defensive side, where you're outscoring your opponents by 23 and holding them to 53. So offensively, you're doing pretty well and have a lot of options.
We do. And I think part of that is just being a younger team, not really knowing, I admit, because they're young, a lot more of it comes down to who's playing well in a game, as opposed to we're going to ride this kid, for 30 minutes and we're going to make sure they get 20 shots. So I think a lot of that is due to our youth. I think it's also because we play super unselfishly, and we're not coming down and just trying to ISO ball a kid every single time down the floor. We're trying to share the ball. And if I put you out there and you can't shoot, that's my problem. If you're open, you better be shooting in our program. So, we're equal opportunity. And I think that's really paid off for us in some games where maybe our leading scorers, maybe our most experienced players haven't scored the most in the Calvin game. Our top 2 leading scorers didn't score very much. Now you could argue that nobody scored in that game, which would be fair. That was not a pretty game on either squad, but we were able to have some other kids step up and play really well when Viss and Bellows, they really tried to take them out of the game, and other kids stepped up.
Should point out that game, for anybody who doesn't know, was a 52-32 final in that rivalry game, played at Hope. Obviously, they'll have the rematch at Calvin later in the season. Let's talk about the season a little bit. Again, with the 5 new starters, you're 16th ranked in the latest D3Hoops.com poll. You have beaten the now 20th ranked Illinois Wesleyan squad, who certainly looks like they're going to have a really good season. You have fallen to, as we mentioned earlier, Wisconsin Lutheran, who I think is better than many people realize. Granted, they're 5-3. And you've got coming up ahead Augustana and Millikin. You'll play Salem State and Lehman before you'll pivot and get right back into conference play with Trine. We'll talk about all those in different segments. But first, you've got perspective here of a win over an Illinois Wesleyan squad and some others where, it's like, it's the usual hope. But I know behind the scenes, some of those games are different. What do we make of the schedule we've seen so far?
I'd also throw Platteville in there as being really good.
Good point. No, great point. Yep. They're having a good season, making that conference bonkers.
They are really, really good. And so those were a couple really high quality wins. Obviously would have liked to have the one at Wisconsin Lutheran, but go on a 5-hour bus ride. And I'll be honest, like, that's what you get when you've got not one senior on your team and you go on the road like that and you're playing freshmen and sophomores and against a very well coached team. You learn from it, you grow. And then we go on the road against Albion, which is, I think, the toughest place to play in our league, and at least in the top 2 in our league. And we play very, very well. And I don't think that we beat Albion on the road if we don't have the struggles that we had against Wisconsin Lutheran. So I love how our schedule laid out. We're always trying to play the toughest schedule. I think there's some challenges to it geographically to get people here. And also for us, just because where we're located, to go on the road during the weekdays. I think that our league schedule kind of hinders us a bit because they do eat up some of our weekends with us starting so early in the year in November and December. So that takes us away from going on the road for a couple. But overall, I like our schedule. It's going to get harder in the next 2 nights. And then we go on the road. I haven't done much scouting, honestly, for our New York trip. And then we come back and we play Trine, and then it's on. It's on for the league. And, I think our league is good. I think our league is pretty deep. I think Trine has played a great schedule. We've got some other people that have played a really strong schedule in our league, and I think it's going to pay off with a lot of balance in our situation.
By the time you're done with the non-conference schedule, you might be in the CCIW race since you're playing so many CCIW teams. You do have Augustana next up. It's tomorrow if you're listening to us live. 6-4 is their overall record. And then you got Milliken on the other side. That's a team that we've already had on this show that we know is darn good. These are good tests, kind of, as you call it, post-exam and pre-holiday break, to kind of know where you are before you pivot to New York and then back to conference play.
Yeah, super strong teams. I mean, Augustana is very well coached. Milliken is really, really well coached, and they have great players. I think that the CCIW has a lot of depth this year, as we can see from some of the early scores. And I think there's just a lot of great teams in the CCIW. So this will be a great test for us back-to-back nights. As I've said, like, we played some really good teams up to this point, but this is going to be like 2 really good teams back-to-back in night after night. So that's going to be good for us. And yeah, I think they're different teams. We play Augustana and they're big, and they're double big, 6'3", 6'1", and then you go and you play Milliken and they're not as big, but it's kind of like watching a mirror image of ourselves. One of my former assistant coaches used to coach with Olivia at Milliken, and so some of our defensive principles were taken there, and so you can see some of the. It's like watching ourselves in the mirror.
It's a compliment, sir. It's a compliment. It means people think you do something right. Right. As we all know, there's no secrets in coaching and in basketball. Everybody knows it. We should point out that's pretty much an MIAA CCIW challenge, as Alma's on the other side of that event coming up at your place. Quickly about the conference, you mentioned it's going to be tough. Trine's ahead in the first game back from the holidays and back into conference play. Obviously, you're going to play them twice. You'll have to do it at home at least to start things off. It was already going to be a tough conference. Is it good to rip that Band-Aid off right away, or is it a little bit nerve-wracking?
I don't know. It's one of the perils of our league schedule. We already have 4 games in our league, so that's our 5th league game, and it's just coming right off a break for both of us. They're going to play a bunch of games in the next 2 weeks. We're going to play a bunch of games in the next 2 weeks, so I don't think either team is going to be stale. And I don't know, it's been weird the last couple of years. I mean, they've come here and beat our brains in. We've gone there and eked out a couple wins. So the home court advantage hasn't really played out up to this point. It's fun testing yourself against them. They're just really, really well coached. They got the returning player of the year in Sydney Wagner. So we haven't stopped her yet since she's been playing there. So hopefully we can at least have a hand up in her face. And it should be a great ball game, though. The only thing I regret about it is that it's over break, and what should be like a heavily attended, students love coming out for those big games. They won't be around, but you know what? It is, you can't do anything about your schedule. And, in the end, what's going to matter is that two great teams are going to play against each other. And whether there's 15 people in the stands or 1,500, it still counts for one.
That's a good point. Quickly, you're heading to New York, as we mentioned. Men are heading to New York as well. They'll play Yeshiva and Lehman. You'll be at Lehman. Are you guys going to travel together with the commonalities there, or is that a bit of a different schedule for everybody?
Nope, we're traveling together. Pretty unique story. Our president of our college went to Hope, went to Harvard, went to England, studied there, came back and worked in Washington, D.C., told President Bush that the housing market was going to crumble, and that wasn't a very good conversation between he and President Scogan. And then he went up to New York City. And while up in New York City, he was asked to be the president of the New York Stock Exchange, which is a pretty cool job. And we are going to ring the bell to close the New York Stock Exchange on the 27th.
Oh, very cool.
It's going to be very incredible opportunity for us to do that. And so through some of his connections and through us wanting to travel to New York, both of us ended up going at the same time. We have typically gone to Florida on a Florida trip every other year together. This just happens to be a New York trip, and we're going to enjoy that time together, get over to their games. They'll come over to our games, and in the middle of it, have some pizza and get to some good Italian places there, hopefully, and maybe hit Chinatown. And I'm a big person with the food, so we're going to coach basketball. I'm going to find some food too.
Smart. Listen, I'm going to say it to you again. I love the New York trip. Florida's a nice place, but we'd love to have both of your programs in a place called South Point Arena in Las Vegas for the D3Hoops.com Classic. I'm just saying, come on out. Let's make this a dual trip and make some fun out of it.
Yeah, we tried to go west this year, and we considered that. But just through some alumni things and that we're trying to accomplish as a school, this worked out better for us.
Oh, sure. It makes logical sense.
Definitely. So
I'm just saying, there's space available for the team in orange.
Amherst goes every year.
Yeah, see, I'm just saying, maybe I'm already thinking ahead. Hey, by the way, we should point out, I've kind of waited on this one because I wanted to finish it up with this. You're 693 and 95 in your career so far. That's stunning, to say the least. You'll likely hit 700 wins before you hit 100 losses. What's even more stunning, and thanks to Alan Babbitt for sharing this with me, you are likely going to hit 700 wins faster than any other coach in men's and women's basketball at any division in the NCAA. The fastest right now is LSU's Kim Mulkey. She's kind of good. Kim's kind of good as a coach. She broke Gino Auriama's mark, which he's pretty good too, getting her 700th in 812 wins. You're sitting at 788 right now, easily could break that and be one of the fastest to 700 wins. I realize everything I just said is something you don't focus on. I know that's what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to make you focus on it for at least half a second. That is pretty darn impressive to do because of the consistency it means. We were just talking about the recruiting and such and the scheduling and now the challenges in the conference. Has any of that sunk in that's the kind of success you have built at Hope?
No, I mean, people bring it up, right? I had no idea until my assistant said, "Do you know how many wins you have?" And I said, "I never know how many wins I have, Courtney." And she said, "Well, I think sometime this year you'll probably hit 700. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I mean, it doesn't feel like that long ago that my daughter was on the team and, got a chance to share that with her and everything. And so I think it's awesome. The best thing about hitting milestones like this is I think it forces people to look back and understand how many people came before them on, like, the players on the team. It forces the media members to listen to me talk about the fact that, I've been doing this a long time and I've had some really incredible assistant coaches and some really incredible players and the support of an administration that was supporting women's basketball before it got popular. And that is the part that people don't remember. There were a few schools 28 years ago that were supporting women's basketball at a really high level. A few, not many. They
Agreed.
were like,
yeah,
it was like, hey, just don't get in the way of the men's stuff, and don't make waves.
Still are some.
And yeah, and so I just appreciate that when I was able to, be named the coach 28 years ago, that I had an incredible AD, Dr. Ann Irwin, a president that was supportive, and they said, you know what, we won a national championship in '90, but we've had some struggles in the past couple of years, but like we want this to be on the level of our men. And they allowed me to, coach and recruit in a way that we could become relevant on the national scene again. And so that's what the winning allows me to do, is just, say thank you and bring the focus back on the people that help make it happen. Because if you come and watch my practices, this is not about me, believe me. I have an incredible staff. Like, I sit back and I delegate a lot, and it's incredible to watch young coaches and the energy that they bring each and every day, and just watch them develop. We lost a really good coach this year to a Division I school. He's now their lead assistant at St. Thomas, and so he went there and is their number one, and he's doing some great stuff. And we miss him, but like, that's part of my job, is to help coaches go on and do great things and become great leaders of women. And Kyle's at a great spot there with Ruth Sin, who and we coached against each other for many, many years when she was at St. Thomas, and Hall of Fame coach for sure. And it's just great to have him under her tutelage as he continues to grow. And hopefully that's going to be the case with some other coaches as well.
Random thought, Dave Hickson going into the Naismith Hall of Fame this past season finally kind of cracked that D3 door open. We'll find out in a few days if anybody else from Division III is at least going to make the list this go around.
Yeah.
What you're accomplishing, one would argue, should get the same type of attention. I know you've never thought of that, but you talk about all of what, the people that you've gone up against that are Hall of Famers. You mentioned Ruth being a Hall of Famer. You would argue that you've already put down the resume that deserves that, and hitting 700 faster than anybody else would cement that.
The great thing about that is that it's not up to me. And I really like that, because that means I don't have to spend any time. If you know me, the last person that's going to campaign for anything like that is going to be me.
Yeah, I'm trying to make you, though.
Yeah. I mean, it would be an incredible thing just to be there with the women that are in the Hall of Fame. I do think that the Hall of Fame is growing from the standpoint of, it used to be incredibly male dominated. I think that they're doing a much better job of taking care of the women's side, which rightfully deserves an equal place. There are so many other people, though, that have been overlooked before me that need to go in. I mean, that I wouldn't
totally
even
agree
be on. I wouldn't even consider being on the list, because there's so many others that deserve to get in there. If that ever happened, I'd be the greatest honor of my life. But it's not something that I'm coaching every day for.
Oh, of course not. No, I wouldn't expect otherwise from anybody. But it's certainly an honor. I think that is worth discussing, and we'll see. Maybe we'll make some calls. I mean, I know nobody, but I'll pretend I'm making some calls. Hey, Brian, I've taken a lot of your time. I know you're prepping for two big games ahead of you here on Tuesday and Wednesday before you take a break for the holidays and then head to New York. So appreciate everything you've given us. You've always given us time, so I appreciate it. Nonetheless, as always, though, we give the guests the final word. Any other things that you want to mention or bring up that we didn't talk about that are worth mentioning?
Healthiest the game's ever been, and for that I'm grateful. And I think it's because of so many really great coaches across the United States that are doing incredible stuff. It's a really cool mix right now in the United States of young coaches who are they're hitting the ground running. They've got a lot of experience, a lot of playing experience, and then a lot of people that have been in this thing for a long time who continue to, I think, carry the torch of women's basketball and encourage the new coaches to be the very best they can be. And I think women's basketball is in a really cool spot. And we're helped by the fact that the Caitlin Clarks and the South Carolinas and things like that are playing really well, because I think it turns some eyeballs towards us. But then it's our job to put out a great product when young families come in and watch college basketball, maybe the only college basketball that they can get to or afford or geographically get to. And then it's our job to put a great product out there where hopefully their daughters or their sons say, I want to go back, Mom. Mom, I want to go back there. That was fun. That was good. So game's healthy as it's ever been. And you're a part of that, Dave, and your group. But yeah, I'm excited to call myself a women's basketball coach because I'm surrounded by so many people in the United States that are doing the same profession and doing it at a really, really high level.
Well said, sir. Seriously, very well said. Love our chats. Love your time. Thank you so very much. Enjoy the games ahead. Enjoy the holidays ahead. Enjoy the season ahead. I look forward to catching up with you. Maybe we'll break our own rule and dip in when you finally get 700. Looking forward to that conversation. But in the meantime, take care of yourself, and we'll look forward to catching up with you down the road.
It'd be a pleasure. Thanks, Dave.
Brian Morehouse joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. Thanks, Brian, for joining us. Great conversation with him earlier today. Probably one, again, as I said, probably one of the better ones we've had. And we've had some really good ones. Remember, he came on our show when COVID had shut down the playoffs. I'm in the middle of the show, and he texted me. He said, hey, do you want to hear from me and the perspective of my team? Absolutely. I wanted to hear from everybody that day. And Brian's been great with us. I really appreciate it. He is on the verge of being the fastest to 700 wins in any division, any gender of NCAA college basketball. Think about that for a moment. Dave Hickson just went into the Hall of Fame. List comes out. I am told list of finalists, I think, comes out in 3 days' time. We will see, or nominees. I can't remember the list. I think it's nominees, then finalists. That's what it is. So we'll hopefully, we'll see what impact Dave Hickson's getting into the Hall of Fame had on the voting panels, on whether we'll see another D3 name on there. Of course, don't forget, we've had Worcester's head coach. We haven't seen some others. I'll be fascinated to see where it plays out. But anyway, Brian Morehouse certainly deserves to be in that conversation. I don't think people really realize how good he is and how much he's done for the game as well. Appreciate him being on the show. Take a quick break. When we come back, we'll put an official bow on this one, including look at some scores from around D3 tonight and remind you of the upcoming schedule and other things. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops. Back with our finale next. The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC 1927. That's NABC.com or NABC 1927 on social media.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault. Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
And welcome back, everybody, as we wrap up our show tonight on the 18th of December, this Monday. Again, a reminder for those who are curious, we are not going to be on the air on Thursday, the 21st. We had certainly debated about it and chosen not to do it for really family reasons. There's plenty of great games, as we talked about all show long, coming up this week. So there would be plenty we could certainly talk about on Thursday's show, but for my own sanity and a deep breath and some time with the family, we're just going to take that time. Again, unless something significant happens that warrants us changing our minds. Quick check of the top 25, by the way. I meant to do this earlier. So far on the men's side, it's been pretty quiet. The only loss is number 12, Christopher Newport to Virginia Wesleyan. We mentioned that because it happened on Thursday's show. They lost 74-68. They rebounded and defeated Wilson 68-49 in their last game. The other loss, Swarthmore, again, something we talked on last Thursday's show. Hampton-Sydney defeated them 67-46. 46. In the receiving votes category, the only one who's had a bad day or bad week is Stockton. They are 6-5 now. They lost to TCNJ 78-69 and then to Eastern 77-73. Stockton not having the season I'm sure they expected, or many others expected either. Marietta had a tight game against Ohio Northern, double overtime, 103-102 winner. In that one, probably a little tighter than they certainly would have hoped. Virginia Wesleyan's off to a 12-1 start. Marlins are playing well. Defeated Christopher Newport, as we mentioned, 74-68. Then got past Johnson and Wales. That's the North Carolina one, I believe, 78-45. Then got past Belhaven, 67-61. That's a team I debated about popping into my top 25 and just hadn't pulled the trigger as of yet. Others who played a lot of games, nobody. That was it. Virginia Wesleyan had the biggest week. On the women's side, Chicago lost to Illinois Wesleyan 73-63 since the poll came out. That's their only game before, for now. Trine lost to Stout 77-76 in a barn burner game, proving Stout is likely much better than we anticipated. Chicago, Illinois Wesleyan, as we pointed, got past Chicago. I'm trying to look for other losses in the receiving votes category. The only loss is Platteville. They lost to Ripon 56-53. Platteville's a really good team, but they're 5-3 at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how voters treat them. Granted, we have to get to the other side of New Year's before we can really jump into that one. Scores from around Division III as of tonight. I meant to I've not I meant to look into some scores while Brian was talking, and I got distracted with some other things. On the women's side, a lot of score updates have gotten out there. We mentioned Transylvania and Whitewater were already winners. Hardin-Simmons got past Texas-Dallas. We mentioned that by 2. Catholic got past Eastern rather easily, 79-60. I don't think there were any other major results in this one. There are a bunch of D3s playing some D1s in games that don't count. I noticed that Ohio absolutely rolled past Defiance on the men's side. But I don't see any other scores. Whitworth got past Claremont Mudd Scripps in women's basketball, 59-48. Luther passed Crown, 85-65. That's pretty much it in terms of what's standing out to me, and maybe I'm missing something. Laterno passed St. Thomas of Texas, 53-48. On the men's side, don't have a score. Let me see if I can get a quick live stat check on this one. Stevens Point and Calvin playing. Calvin rolling in this one right now. They had a 42-29 lead at halftime. The score difference has stayed the same so far in the second half. 6 minutes left to go in that one. Calvin leads 62-49 on the Pointers. Apparently I clicked on that twice. I'm not sure how I did that. Hang on. As a result, I lost my men's score there, or scoreboard, so let me call that back up. Here we go. Whitewater and Marion were playing. I don't have a score on that one. Can't find it easily. We mentioned earlier Trine got past Anderson in a tough one. We mentioned earlier that North Park lost to Dominican in overtime, 89-86. Puget Sound lost to Santa Cruz, 77-54. Milliken got past St. John Fisher. We mentioned that one earlier, and we mentioned Transylvania over Bluffton, 89-76. Actually, I think I had that as Transylvania losing earlier in the day. Now I've got it as Transylvania winning, 89-76. Either I misread that, or we got it flipped somehow accidentally. Sul Ross State got past Concordia, Texas, 197. Remember, Sul Ross is playing some conference games, even though they aren't really a Division III member anymore by rule. Hardin-Simmons got past Texas-Dallas on the men's side, 94-85. La Sierra defeated Whittier, 79-77. We'll see the Poets out in Vegas here in a week. Mary Washington got past Bridgewater, 69-52. Illinois Wesleyan lost to Cal Lu. I know Bob Quillman's out there for that event. Cal Lutheran defeats Illinois Wesleyan 58-52. Cal Lutheran is damn good, even though they're 5-3. I think they're better than people realize. They lost to Randolph-Macon, they lost to Hood, and they've lost to Claremont Mudd Scripps, but they got a win over Redlands and a win over Illinois Wesleyan. Cal Lu actually made a trip to the East Coast, which is interesting. They got a win over North Central and a win over Puget. Russell White's team may be a little inconsistent, but I think they're really good this season. No, I don't think any other scores really jump out. There's that Ohio score, 108-28 over Defiance. Redlands easily over Kalamazoo. That surprises me a little bit. 101-58. Kalamazoo, 6-4 in the season, and Redlands smoked them. Yeah, so remember, go to d3hoops.com for more information on all of that. Here's one I want to check real quick. Oshkosh and Ripon are playing right now in men's basketball action. Well, I'm waiting for that to load. It's not loading just yet. We'll see what happens. But really good basketball coming up. And again, d3hoops.com Classic out in Las Vegas. If you can't make it, we'll have the games for you. According to this, by the way, that Oshkosh game hasn't started, so something's off there. I'm not sure what's going on. We'll have the games on d3hoops.com, of course. We'll have links to multiple locations to watch those games. Looking forward to it. Have some really good men's teams, some decent women's teams as well. We didn't mention, did I mention Amherst? I'm now forgetting if I mentioned Amherst. I thought Amherst women were out there, and I don't think I remember reading about them. But Amherst women are not out there. That's strange. Amherst women are not out there. I'm so used to Amherst women being at our event. They are not out there this year on the women's side. Shows you how things just can run together in your head, to say the least. With that, we're going to wrap things up, folks. Really appreciate you all tuning in. We will be back on the air again unless something major happens on January 4th. Again, a couple of notes for the January and February part of things. I'm picking up some work that I need to take. So there's going to be a handful of Thursdays games, even our shows, and even a Monday show that we're going to have to move to midday, a 1 o'clock live show. Doesn't mean you can't watch on demand, obviously. Just going to change the viewership a little bit. Also, the marathon now is going to have to flex. We're going to have to figure out when to do the marathon. The day we were scheduled to do it, I now need to work that evening. So we're going to either going to have to move it to a Monday, maybe, which is a little tough to do to try and coordinate that over a weekend. We do a lot of work, obviously, ahead of the weekend, but still to try and get guests lined up at the last minute over the weekend is a little challenging. So I'm not exactly keen on that, but that might have to be our fallback. The other is to move it to a Wednesday or a Friday. So we'll figure that one out and let you know about it. Reminder, the Top 16 show will be in February as well. So just stay tuned with us on social media, whether it's on X/Twitter, Instagram, Threads. We're going to try and figure out how to get Discord up and running for D3 for this show, but also on Facebook and YouTube. We'll keep you up to date as to where we're doing things. Also, I know there's been a thought about new shirts. We're going to dive into that. I don't know if we still have our connection at our former group, or we're going to find maybe a new group to do those with. I'm trying to find a way that they're up more available. It's complicated. Anybody who's in the business certainly understands that. And we're going to start pivoting sponsors, advertisers. We're starting to get some headway on doing that with the D3Hoops.com Classic. Believe it or not, we are looking to do it here on Hoopsville. So if you're interested in advertising or being a part of this show, please let us know, and we have packages ready to go. We would love to hear from you and get you associated with this program. And with that, we're going to sign off. One thanks to all our guests. Great conversations tonight with Dubuque's Robbie Sieverding out there in Hawaii, Illinois College's Steve Schweer, of course, DeSales, Fred Richter, and Hope's Brian Morehouse. Thanks to the sports information departments for all four of those institutions for their incredible help in putting the show together. You don't understand. I know they're busy enough as it is, but many of them swing for the fences to give us help that we need. I'm going to quickly run names, and I hope I don't miss anybody. Of course, it starts with Alan Babbitt at Hope. Alan and I go a long way back, and I always appreciate Alan's help, to say the least. He's always at the forefront of that assistance for us. Of course, BJ Spiegelmeyer, another good friend of the program. I want to thank BJ at DeSales for his help. We've always enjoyed working with BJ and Alan. Others, forgive me, because one of them I had an email from another account because things weren't working well. Scott Reed, Illinois College. Literally, they kind of pulled that one out due to an email issue. They were able to get that segment put together for us somewhat at the last minute. It means a lot to me to help with that. And, of course, the gang at Dubuque. Thank you for your help on getting the segment put together as well. So, everybody, thanks for your assistance. Listen, enjoy the holidays, but enjoy some good basketball when you get a chance. Whether you're watching online or you can go and watch the game in person, please do so. You're gonna enjoy it. We got some really good basketball going on, and before you know it, we're gonna be so deep into conference play that it's gonna be crazy. But this is a chance to see other teams and other opportunities. So go take your kids, go enjoy a game. A lot of D3 games are free, even online, as they should be, in my opinion. So go and enjoy it. These are great student athletes, and they deserve as much attention as we can give them. And you watching a game does that. And if you're in Vegas, by the way, be sure to try and catch us. We are admittedly busy, and I certainly look busy when I'm out there, but pull me aside if you get a chance. I'd love to shake a hand of somebody or get to meet somebody. Feel free to do that. We're at South Point Arena. And again, if you're out in Las Vegas, that is not on the Strip. It's down about 5 miles, I want to say, down from the Strip. South Point Arena in south of Las Vegas at the South Point Hotel and Casino. It's a great time there. We love having it, and I cannot wait to those 16 teams. We have 3 schools: Trinity, Texas, Rhodes, and hold on, I'm cheating. I'm going to my list. Trinity, Texas, Rhodes, and Laverne, who are bringing both programs out. That's becoming a bit of a new thing. We enjoy that as well. And before I wrap up, heck of a Stag Bowl in D3 football on Friday night. It was awesome. Came right down to the end. It was the narrowest victory in Stag Bowl history. That was the 50th, 26th, hosted by those in Salem. I think I was saying 25 last year. I got confused that they did 25 straight. This was their 26th. Hats off to the Cortland Red Dragons on the victory over North Central for Cortland's first ever football national championship. Listen, I'm used to Cortland being really good in a lot of sports, including women's lacrosse. Great to see football get to the top there. And hats off to North Central. Not only a tremendous game that they participated in and played very well in as well, but this is 4 straight Stag Bowls. That is certainly impressive. By the way, also a hats off to Cortland. They went all out on getting alums to give shout-outs to Cortland's team before the game started. If you hadn't had a chance, we've tweeted it out. Go back and watch it because there are some incredible names, including the head of the SEC, Beth Mowens at ESPN, and a lot of other names that are Cortland grads. I was impressed, to say the least. And with that, oh, and by the way, our friend at Fran Elliott there at Cortland. Fran, I realize I probably botched your last name like Pat does and everybody else, but Fran is one of the best in the business, and I'm so happy to see that he got that chance at a national championship in football. And with that, we sign off. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. We'll take a holiday break. Back at it on Thursday, the 4th of January with another big Hoopsville. Lots of plans ahead, so stay with us on social media as we give you up to date with all of what we're doing throughout during the holiday break here, leading up to January, and what we're going to be doing in January and February and March as well. You've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. If you want to talk Division III basketball, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful holiday. We'll see you in 2024.